ActionSA in the Eastern Cape has called on the Premier to act on what it says is the poor state of the province. The party says service delivery in the province has been poor for some time now. We're now joined by Athol Trollip, ActionSA Eastern Cape Provincial Chairperson. He's written quite a thorough opinion piece on the state or true state of affairs in the province. Athol, thank you so much for your time. I think I'd like for us to begin with the beauty of the province of the Eastern Cape. You find it unparalleled to any other province in the country. For a viewer who's never been there before, please sell it for us.
I'm battling to hear you, but let me just answer what I think you asked me. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Look, it's been a real amazement for me for many, many years that the Eastern Cape gives the ANC the highest support of all the 9 provinces. When, if you measure performance in the Eastern Cape, almost on every single index, we come last. So it's a real anathema. And then what we did this year as ActionSA, before the State of the Nation address and the State of the Province address, we went and investigated throughout the province with our activists interacting with people of this province to identify what are the main challenges in this province and what makes up those challenges. So we identified that education is in a crisis in the Eastern Cape. Crime is completely out of control. The infrastructure is deteriorating rapidly and there's no maintenance of infrastructure. Local government is all but collapsed in this province. And then unemployment is probably the second biggest challenge of all, with the highest unemployment rates in the Eastern Cape. And then with health, we still have initiates dying every single year, despite every year new interventions and new promises by the government. And then lastly, with housing, we return money. Every single year we return money back to the fiscus in education and in housing. So what we decided to do, because we're not represented yet in the legislature or in any councils in the Eastern Cape, we've only been going here for about a year, but we have thousands and thousands and thousands of members who have complained to us that in every State of the Province address or every State of the Nation address, promises are made and all sorts of, glorification of what's being done and good stories to tell in the Eastern Cape. There's not a good story to tell in the Eastern Cape, and we want to hand a memorandum over to Premier Mabuyane to tell him that these are the things that really bother the people of the Eastern Cape. We don't believe that you care or are competent to deal with them, but we're putting you on terms that this new party in the Eastern Cape is going to contest to remove the ANC in the next election.
Let's start with education. There's a school called Nkwezana Primary School. It currently accommodates 857 learners from grade R to grade 7. It was established in 1995. 58 million rand later, what's happened?
Well, that was just one of the examples we gave. It's by no means the worst example, but I think when you hand a memorandum over with a petition, you've got to give salutary examples. And this school is on the periphery of one of our metro cities. It was supposed to have been upgraded with 58 million rand. The upgrading stopped years ago. The kids are all still taught in prefab classrooms. They've got a massive shortage of teachers. They still use pit latrines. So despite the government investing that kind of money to upgrade the school remains upgraded and the contractors have gone because they haven't been paid and money has been lost through corruption and the kids' education is compromised. That is what has become synonymous with the Eastern Cape. Many interventions, many efforts, lots of money being thrown at a problem, but no proper outcomes. And that was just one of the salutary examples that we wanted to give the Premier. But let me also just tell you that we have a 74% matric pass rate, which is one of the lowest in the country. But we have the highest attrition rate of all the provinces. So kids start in grade R and finish in grade 12. We have the highest number of kids that are lost between those two start and finish years. And then the ANC still breastbeats about the fact that they got a 74% matric pass rate, and bearing in mind that the matric pass rate has been reduced from 50% to 30%. So actually, if you think about it, education has gone from bad to worse in the Eastern Cape, and people like Angie Mochecha and MEC Gade remain in their posts despite these miserable performance indexes.
And on the issue of crime, you mentioned that criminals in the province are brazenly armed with military-grade weapons, and communities are terrorized.
Dudu, you know, we've now reached a real low in the Eastern Cape. New Brighton, which is in Nelson Mandela Bay, named after our president, iconic first democratic president, is now the murder capital of the country, which is an absolute crying shame. But the thing that really troubles me the most is that the rural areas of the Eastern Cape used to be a picture of pastoral peace. But now, and when I used to go there over the years, their biggest problem would be unemployment or roads, impassable roads or access to schools. Now you go into those communities, their biggest problems are related to drugs, mass murders, stock theft, reprisal attacks for communities that have suffered stock theft. People are being murdered, brutally murdered. And when they go to the police station, there are no gender-based violence tutuzela centers. Women have to, go and tell their horrific stories in front of everyone in the charge office. But many of our police stations are guarded by private security companies. And even worse than that, many of our police stations lock themselves up in the police station at night because they are fearful of the criminals. And this is the reality of living in the Eastern Cape. Despite all these good stories to tell and breastbeating, the people of the Eastern Cape actually live in a very miserable province. They're threatened by criminals. They're not safe in their homes. And the rural areas have been transformed from being peaceful places where communities live in harmony to actually communities that are impoverished. There's any source of income in those rural areas, and criminality has overtaken their lives. And that's a real, it's a crying shame in the Eastern Cape that the people have to live like that. And Mr. Mashaba, who joined us at the march, he was encouraging people of the Eastern Cape to say, if you continue voting for the ANC, you're going to continue having these kind of travails. But if you change your vote and vote for something different, there is a chance of having something different. So what we were trying to do is to mobilize people in this province to say to them, there is a new political party that has identified what needs to be done. We believe that we can do it better, but we first have to remove the ANC before we can start addressing the shortfalls of this province.
Athol Trollip is ActionSA Eastern Cape Provincial Chairperson. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.